Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Now we're taking a look here today at VLX, which is a big community request. So thank you to my patrons for recommending that I cover this here today. I got your back. Definitely want to take a look here and see what we can do to help you navigate this unique circumstance, of course, because it's jumped up significantly, but it's got these strange volume bursts, and I'll go ahead and explain that while we get into here deeper. But obviously, I just want to exercise caution, make sure that you are very careful in coins like this, especially when they are low market capitalization. There can be a lot of manipulation that happens. Either way, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should do your own research. Make sure that you take ownership of your own trades at any given time. What I mean by that is just learn as much as you can from as many people as possible and develop your own trading style. You should never follow just one person and learn just one thing. Okay, so learn as much as you can, obviously, and hopefully you can learn something here today. This probably will be a unique analysis just based on the type of coin that this is, but we'll see, obviously, once we get into it. Now, I have a Patreon account as well. If you'd like to check that out, of course, in your own time, I share all of my trades with my community members. I have about an 80% success rate overall so far in the last 2.5 months. It's been a great experience. So we're trending closer to about 50 members here so far, which is fantastic. Thank you so much to my patrons. Really do appreciate you. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you. Now, why don't we just go ahead and jump into the charts? Let's get to it. Let's check it out. All right, folks, go ahead and take a look here at VLX. And just before we do, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first to get a baseline of the market so we know exactly what's going on, because those are the two largest coins in the industry, and we got to respect them, of course. And obviously, Bitcoin is pretty much a catalyst for all the price movement, and majority coins are also on the ERC20 blockchain, so we got to look at that as well. So first and foremost is Bitcoin. Oh, and just before we do, I always get this question, so I like to preface. TradingView.com is a desktop application that I utilize. Fantastic charting tools. I highly recommend utilizing the paid versions just because it gives you more than 2 indicators present at any given time, which obviously you'll see here in the presentation that I use 2 indicators per time frame, actually 2 to 4 if you include MACD and RSI. So just something to consider there. Link in the description below for a free month if you want to check that out your own time. All right, let's go and take a look here at Bitcoin. So this is a 4-hour chart for Bitcoin. And what we want to note here is obviously the fact that we are below, or still below, the 50-day simple moving average here. We are above the 200, however. So if we do lose these supports here soon, we have the 200 creeping up at about 45,300. We have a secondary support at 45,800 and a major support at 46,800. This has worked pretty strong over the past couple of, I guess you could say, few trading days, because it's tested and rejected many times, right? So it's looking very good, still strong support, but the more often a support gets tested, right, the more likely it is to break. So there's a chance of that happening. Keep that in mind. Furthermore, too, we also have this descending triangle wedge pattern. And just to clarify what this is here, of course, traditionally they break to the downside when it comes to fruition, when it kind of goes all the way through to the end. Now, to say that's going to happen now it's hard to say. It really could go 50-50 based on the next couple of candlesticks. So in the next 8 to 12 hours, we'll know if Bitcoin is going to break above or below. But right now, it has a pretty consistent lower high pattern right now, and that concerns me. I have a feeling it might turn around to the downside here and continue down to reject at the support level, and then go work its way between the channel of 45.8 and 46.8. Okay, so there's a chance it could work itself into this little channel here, but we'll see soon. If it breaks above and starts making higher highs and higher lows, we're all set and good to go for bullish momentum up towards the upside of 49,300, which is a major resistance here. Okay, so that's kind of where Bitcoin is at right now. It's kind of just hovering within these channels. So again, be careful buying the dip if it comes back down. Be cautious, be respectful of that support level, and see if it breaks and comes below, or if it stays down there. Okay. Just words of wisdom. I hope that you are careful. Moving forward on to Ethereum, of course, inverse applying right here. Ethereum's doing very well. So it's one of those scenarios, maybe even similar to a while ago. In other words, if you look back here, this right here happened when Bitcoin was going sideways for some time. Okay, Ethereum has a tendency of doing that, and what happens is that the concept is that people will, when Bitcoin's at a state of indecision, they transition over to Ethereum and start investing their money in Ethereum. And that's what's happening right now, I'm venturing to guess, because we likely have an increase in volume. a lot more bullish volume, and things are looking pretty good for Ethereum. We're up over both support levels, including the support of 3250, and it right now is testing a major resistance at 3550. So I marked that previously because that is a major resistance based on where a lot of the price action previously was halted. So there's a chance that it might reject there and go sideways for some time and then eventually break. Or depending again on how Bitcoin performs, if Bitcoin does regress and go sub 46,800, then Ethereum will of course retrace just based on the natural law of how Ethereum is still reliant on Bitcoin regardless of how well it's doing right now. Please understand that. So that's kind of where we're at with Ethereum here. Now let's go ahead and take a look at VLX. Now again, my community members asked me to cover this. This is something I've never looked at before. So just keep that in mind as well, but here's some obvious indicators. We've got the 200-day simple moving average working as a support level. As you can see, it was a previous resistance yesterday. Now today it's a support. So that's a really good sign here. Keep in mind this candlestick still has to close above in order for that to be considered a support level, but the likelihood of it closing above is pretty high considering the fact that that would be a significant retracement. You don't really see candlesticks like this close below support with that much movement in one day. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And as you can see here, the amount of volume hasn't changed much, right? So that does mean that there's a likelihood of a further retracement just based on the simple fact that there is less volume, or obviously it compares to the rest of the weeks, right? But it's less volume overall. We should see larger amount of volume right now based on these 2 trading days. That means the bears have not even bothered to join in the fun. Therefore, we have a lot more room for retracement, so to speak. So the price could come back down a little further. But generally speaking, the common rule, rule of thumb, I guess you could say, is when you see an increase of this size, it will traditionally retrace about 50% of the way. Now it's pretty much already there right now, so I'd venture to guess we're going to see some sideways action from VLX. So minus any support and resistance levels, naturally you'll see a 50% retracement when the price increases this high in that short amount of time. Okay. Now let's go ahead and take a look and see if there's anything else back here previously that might be holding the price. I do see a pretty obvious one that started back here. So we'll go ahead and use that as well. Well, that is approximately 11.7 cents. Is there anything else? Yeah, you can see this one here too. Most recent resistance. When it tried to test and break right here on May 26th, it couldn't, and that's where it rejected out here today. Okay, so we got 2 major resistances there, and then we'll look at shorter time frames for some support levels, maybe even plot out the Fibonacci retracement, but generally speaking, all normal signs here of a bullish breakout to the upside. So I'd be surprised if VLX doesn't continue on its trend after it calms down and retraces for a few more days. Moving forward, though, just a note as well, something that's really important to understand is some of these candlesticks here back here, right? So April 17th, first of all, I want to identify that. That is the first major retracement from Bitcoin. Okay, so Bitcoin did poorly in this time frame right here, as did VLX. But prior to that, VLX was averaging somewhere about 14 upwards of 21 cents. So, split the difference, 17.5, right around 17 cents, just say, was the average range for VLX before all the sell-offs occurred. Okay, so the price is at about 10.7 right now. So, when you think about it, this is when Bitcoin was 50 to 64,000. Okay, now Bitcoin's at 47,000 approximately right now. Therefore, if you kind of get that relativity, to the price right now, there's a strong chance that the price will increase back upwards to the 14 to 21 range as soon as it breaks this resistance of approximately 13.5. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It should be open season after we get past this resistance here, but there are 2 major resistances to work through first, and we want to make sure to focus on that. And then we'll go ahead and see if we can find any support levels. But yeah, so looking at the 4-hour chart, we can kind of see that there was a convergence back on the 27th at 5 a.m. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that really quick, because I think it's important to look at that on a shorter time frame. So if you're new to the channel, I always like to look at the Ishimoku cloud and see if there's a correlation between the 4-hour MACD, which is a moving average convergence divergence. We're basically looking for a convergence that swings in the upwards, so to speak. And to clarify what that just means is, the bears are in control here. You see the red candles. And then obviously you have this 12, this is a 12-day EMA that's intersecting with 26 in an upward fashion. This commonly tells us there's a shift in momentum from bearish to bullish. And that's essentially what we look for. So moving forward, we're going to look at the 1 hour chart to kind of see if there's a correlation. But generally speaking, that's kind of something I look for in order to kind of help predict where coins are going to go in the near future, or just, take position at any given time when we have a MACD convergence or the price breaks above on the 1 hour chart. RSI is obviously up over 70 right now. It did come back down, but it bounced up again. So here's kind of cool thing about this. It ramped up obviously that high, came down. Now we have a green candlestick here forming. Granted, this is still only about 3 hours into a 4 hour candlestick, but there's a good likelihood that the price is going to start averaging out roughly where it's at right now, based on the simple fact that it didn't come down any further. Okay, so that's a really good sign. And RSI being up over 70, yes, it's considered to be overbought. However, pending these two resistance levels, it's still very much considered to be underbought in a sense, because if you look at this, the RSI had just peaked over here on this over 70 on the 1 day chart, and this has a lot of momentum. So I do foresee VLX having enough steam, enough motivation to continue moving forward, but we do gotta double check all the support and resistance levels. And why don't we just go ahead and do that really quick? So let's go ahead and take a quick look at Fibonacci and see what it tells us. Big surprise, we've got a major resistance right there, which means we're close to support right now. So if we're going to mark this here, we can go ahead and mark support right here at this point. And then another right here as well. And what it is, I basically just use Fibonacci retracement because it's standard for that to be utilized on the larger the whales, the bulls, all of the bulls, the bears, everyone that kind of controls the market outside of you and I, they use Fibonacci retracement for the most part. And what you do is you take the lowest, most recent point and put it to the highest point, and that basically kind of tells you where the support and resistance levels are. So the first two I was able to mark just based on the previous resistance levels. These two I was able to mark based on the most recent support on the Fibonacci. So generally speaking, I would say if the price were to retrace back down, 9 cents would be the lowest, but it should start to test and stay above 10.5 moving forward. That should be a potential support level. Okay. All right, so looking at the 1 hour chart here, let's go ahead and take a look at that. And what I look at first, of course, on the 1 hour chart is the Ichimoku cloud. Okay. Now this is pretty obvious that you can kind of see what's going on here. When the price is above the cloud, it's considered a buy signal. So we've had consistent buy signals, obviously, over the past few days. But if you look at the cloud, the price broke over the cloud right almost exactly, I would say roughly 4 hours before the MACD conversion on the 4 hour chart. Okay, so on the 4 hour chart, you look for the MACD convergence, seeing when the 12 intersects with the 26 in upward fashion. That's a buy signal to go along as a swing trader. Same thing as well, this is further confirmation on the 1 hour chart telling us that, hey, we've got Ichimoku cloud, prices above the cloud, it's considered a buy signal. So this would have been an awesome indication of a buy signal there. And then of course, if we look at TD sequential as well to kind of see where we're at in the pricing here, there's a good chance we had a reset here recently. And this is a little bit blocky, just based on the fact that the price tends to ramp up and increase and have really short bursts of future reference too, when you see this kind of price action on a 1 hour chart, just say for example 1 hour or 15-minute chart, it basically tells us there's a lot of things factoring in. First of all, it's probably not people like you and I making the price increase or decrease at this point, right? These are probably the whales that are massively increasing the price and then turning around and selling it no less than 15-20 minutes later. So usually when you see these large kind of candlesticks with these large wicks, there's a strong chance that there's a lot of something is manipulating the market. I hate to say it that way, but that's essentially what's going on. But see, that's not a problem, by the way, because volatility like this is helpful when you're in it, obviously at the right point in time. Okay, now you want to be careful, obviously, because you need to choose the right side, right? But what I just identified with the MACD convergence on the 4 hour chart plus the Ichimoku cloud, that kind of tells you you're on the right side of the scale here. Moving forward, though, we do need to be careful we need to respect these support and resistance levels, because you can see we got a major previous resistance here, turned support, and this was a resistance. Now it might be a potential support. Okay, So we want to kind of respect that. But what I'm getting at with the T2 sequential is the fact that when the 1 counts up to a 9 and we get a reset, which we see here, that basically means we have a potential of 4 more hours, maybe 4 to 5 more hours of bullish momentum. So we could see this come up and test 11.7 cents here soon. Okay. So just something to be aware of. Again, TD sequential is really helpful about kind of getting you an understanding of where market exhaustion is trending. So, are the bulls or the bears in control? Honestly, that's the only thing I don't like about this type of trading. In other words, there's a lot of, with these increases and decreases, these sharp, steep candlesticks, it can be difficult to kind of gauge, right? Again, not a problem, of course, as long as you understand that, you work within support and resistance levels, but generally speaking, those can be kind of difficult to navigate sometimes. So just be very careful here with VLX. As you can see, there's a lot of spikes and a lot of sharp increases and decreases, and those are not people like you and I doing that. Okay. So I would say, if you're in the profit right now, here's a simple way to put it. If you're in the green right now, move your support level, move your stop loss essentially to the next major support of either 8.7 or I would say even 10.5, somewhere in that range. Make sure the price comes back down, you take profits. It'll probably stop you out. Yes, that could happen, but you're going to be safe because there's a likelihood of the price just shooting straight back down because you can kind of see it has a history of doing that. Yes, it's been going to the upside this whole time, but once it goes to the downside, it'll do downside the same way as it's gone up. Okay, so just be careful. Price it, anything like this, you want to consistently be moving your stop loss up. I would say move it to at least 8.7 or just say 9 cents even to keep it safe. So that way you have an opportunity to be able to take some profits while you still can. It's important to do that. It's nothing worse than like being in the green and then being so greedy that you eventually get in the red and you have to pay the piper. It sucks so bad. I've been there before too. That's why I'm more of a conservative trader. So if you are interested in following my trading style, I actually share all my trades with my community members. The link's in the description below. But I'm about an 80% successful trader because I'm very cautious and I honor support and resistance levels. But more importantly, I consistently move up my stop loss. I adjust my stop loss as I continue to get in the profit in the green. So I mean, there's some days I'll take a 0.5% profit, and I'm perfectly fine by that. Obviously, it depends on how much you leverage. Of course, will determine how much you're getting. But generally speaking, I like to ensure that I don't leave money on the table. It's a very difficult thing for me to do, and I don't like it. So here's one thing I want to show you here. Look at this. This is a 50-minute chart. You see how choppy the price action is? Pretty much straight lines followed by sharp increases, straight lines. So this is just something to be very careful about. You don't want to try to day trade anything like this at all. Swing trading is probably your best bet. And again, you want to make sure to respect the support and resistance levels, because now that we're overextended, so to speak, on the price. Remember, the RSI is basically telling us it's overbought. We want to be cautious and careful, and make sure that if you do take entry, you set a stop loss that's kind of close. That would be like below. So say for example you took entry right now. Set your stop loss somewhere around just say again 9 cents. Heaven forbid you take a 10% loss. You don't take anything larger, right? But what's important though here is, of course, if you do take entry, set your stop loss somewhere just below where the price action has trended. Okay, so the price doesn't go any lower here than about 9.3 cents. So maybe set your stop at about 9.2 cents, something like that, because there's a chance that this could continue upwards and sideways. It's hard to say, honestly. Based on the fact that we have two major resistance levels here coming up, I would be careful. In other words, if you do take entry, set a tight stop loss. When you get to the next major resistance level, maybe you consider moving up your stop loss. Just as you continue to get into profit, keep moving your stop loss up. But ultimately, I would just be careful. I would prefer myself to not trade something like this, just based on the sheer fact that it is, even though it is volatile, yes, that's important. It's not consistent by any means, right? It's really hard to, when you have trouble analyzing a technical chart for something like this, based on the fact that it just has straight lines and then immediate up arrows or immediate increases. Like, I mean, come on, look at this here. Like, for example, this was a 50% increase and decrease in a matter of about 30 minutes. So I mean, that's all well and good, but if you can't be there to sell right at the exact same time that they're jumping the price up and then jumping it back down, how is that going to be favorable, right? So I honestly would just recommend avoiding this altogether. If you're already in a position, move up your stop loss just to mitigate any potential further loss. And if you are in the profit, don't get greedy. Take profits while you still can. Maybe trim 50% off the top right now, move your stop loss up to a nice tight stop. That way you still have potential for taking profits here, because it's not this is not pretty. All right, so I hope you found benefit, and I'm sorry this is not a typical analysis because there's just really strange data, and when there's less data like this, it can be very difficult to navigate. So just highly recommend no trading here on this coin specifically. If you were to, again, tight stop loss, be very careful and take your profits if you have them right now. Do it before it's too late. Yes, the price will likely increase later, don't get me wrong, it very well can and should, but we don't know when that will happen and how often it'll happen. I mean, look at this. In 15 minutes, the price jumped up and down 41%. Okay, so that's not a very tight margin for success if you're somebody that's just casually trading, right? Like even me, if I look at this every single day and I just follow it, it would be hard to be able to get in and out at the exact same take profit targets. So just, again, be aware of that, okay? So again, thank you so much for joining me here today. Check out some of my resources down, link in the description below, of course, and join the community if you haven't already. And we'll be happy to see you on the other side. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks again for your time. We'll see you.